In the years after W.G. Ross made Sam Hall famous, the song began circulating widely. Versions of it could be found throughout the English-speaking world and beyond. I'll talk about how the song was taken up in the USA in the next instalment, but here I want to focus on how it was taken up in the Irish tradition. And here 1969 was an important year, providing us with recordings by both the Dubliners and the Irish Rovers. The Dubliners were central figures in the folk revival of the 1960s, and along with the Clancy brothers and Tommy Mackem, were instrumental in developing a particular sound for Irish folk music, centred on banjos, fiddles and guitars and tin whistles, and then exporting that sound throughout the world. For a long time, that sound was what most people thought of when they heard the words Irish music. It was enormously successful, and songs like Whiskey in the Jar, The Irish Rover, 7 Drunken Nights, and The Wild Rover became known throughout the world on the strength of their performances. The Dubliners' version of Sam Hall transports the scene from England to Ireland, and from Holborn Hill and Tyburn Fair to Coote Hill in the north of Ireland. The distinctive thing about this version of the song is the sympathy for Sam Hall, who is not so much a celebrated villain as a victim of circumstance. Gone are Ross's blasphemous oaths, for example, perhaps getting us a little closer to the original song, Jack Hall, than to Ross's mid-19th century reinvention of it. Here, Sam Hall takes a fond farewell of his friends on the gallows. They took me to Coote Hill, where I stopped to make my will, saying the best of friends must part, and so must I. Perhaps the most striking thing about this version of the song, though, is the fact that it is narrated posthumously. That is, it is a first-person narrative. My name, it is Sam Hall. But then the speaker of the song is executed somewhere around the middle of the penultimate stanza. Up the ladder I did grope, that's no joke. Up the ladder I did grope, and the hangman pulled the rope, and ne'er a word I spoke, tumbling down. He continues to narrate the moment of his death in the past tense, looking back on the event. And then he sings another full verse, a reprise of the first verse, My name, it is Sam Hall, as if to assert his identity and his existence beyond the grave, which he successfully achieves, of course, through the medium of the song that carries his story. In the Dubliners' performance, the tempo is notably slow. The song isn't played for laughs in any sense. It is a lament for the death of a person who has been born into poverty and has had to steal to survive, and been caught and publicly hung in front of his friends. It is a sentimental rendering of a tragic tale. The version recorded by the Irish Rovers, also recorded in 1969, has much in common with the Dubliners' version. Their version, though, seems much more acutely aware of the strangeness of Sam Hall narrating his death from beyond the grave, and in the final verse, the reprise of the first verse, the instruments are gradually faded out, with the exception of the voice and a high accordion part, which is given a little extra reverb before the final fade, adding a more spectral quality to the ending. The Irish Rovers were a Canadian-based band of Irish emigrants, and doubtless they knew the song from their days performing in County Antrim before they moved to Toronto. Certainly, this recording has little in common with other North American variants of the song that I'll discuss next.